we're not doing better in moral terms. Development and moral development has a role to play in the entire national development. We should engage ourselves in moral doing. We shouldn't put ourselves to edges that would surely get us to something that is immoral. I mean, we are Generation Z. And with the way we're doing morally, it's a thing that we're not doing better on, a thing that I discourage time to time as youth.
Imagine Malawi, where young people are not just part of the change making, and they are not just the future leaders of the country. My guest is a young man who is an embodiment of change in Malawi. He is currently the president of the Malawi University of Science and Technology Students Union. He is not just a man who talks about change, he is bulldozing change at the student community in Malawi. Before we dive into the discussion, I want you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel so that whenever I post a new video, you'll be amongst the first people that will be notified. Mr. Alexander Coates, he will be speaking to us about the projects and the initiatives he has undertaken since becoming the Student Union President of Malawi University Science and Technology. So, Mr. Coates, the floor is yours, and welcome to Unpopular Opinion.
Thank you a lot, please. Yeah, so I'm Alexander M. Kude, Student Representative Council President for MAST, Malawi University of Science and Technology. So as you've already introduced me, I'm a young man, 22 years old, and this is my second term in office of president, the first time in Malawi, as well as Malawi University of Science and Technology. Basically, my first term of office started in 2023 and finished in 2024 April. And then I vied for another term of office in 2024 April, which is expected to end in 2025 April. So I'm a student as per se, doing Bachelor of Engineering, Textile Engineering. I'm in my final year of study. It's a 5 years program. So yeah, I will be finishing very soon. Sure.
Let's start with the project of you becoming the president of the Malawi Student Union at the Science and Technology University in Malawi. What created that motivation in you to vow for the student leadership position in Malawi?
Well, so for the first time, my first term of office in 2023, when I started the university life, when I was in first year, that was around 2019, I literally had a passion. I developed that passion of being student representative president after seeing the problems we all face, and after seeing the passion in me that I would become one day a leader and serve people. So I'm passionate about student leadership. I'm passionate about servant leadership. I'm passionate to see somebody grow from where they were to somebody through my effort. I'm passionate about that. So when I heard there's a student leadership that deals with issues concerning about students, I promised myself in my second year of study that I'm going to vie for office of president. So I make a complete change among us youth, because I know, and I knew that time that I was young, and maybe it would be difficult for me not to do it easily, but I gave myself confidence and said, I'm going to do this. And in 2023, after telling my friends, it's the same culture that everyone experiences. You face resistance, but now when you show seriousness in the thing, that's when people try to accept and say, I think he can be a person viable for that position. And so I stood for the position in 2023. There were a couple of projects that I was working on, including by then we had arrears through the Higher Education Student Loans and Grants Board. So we had to discuss with him, make efforts so that the institution and organization would sort out the arrears, as well as come up with nice financial sustainable projects that would surely sustain students. Because as university students, we are the pillars. Most of us are the pillars of our homes, because we are much more dependent on our homes. We are the change that many more families look up to. So even when we are here, we usually lead an independent life. Most of us don't depend on our parents. And it's mostly the parents or families depending on me or depending on us from a background of a student who is coming from a remote area. when we get our loans through government, it is usually the very loan that we send back home so that it should help them. So you can see we are the backbone of our own development, the backbone of our own hope, and the backbone of our families back home. So that's why I had to say, okay, I think we should build something substantial and something sustainable. So we should sustain ourselves financially. So as students, we shouldn't put ourselves to too much stress, even though we are yet to be exposed, even though in the process of our studies, we have to serve and surely also help children out rather than family at home. We should be able to help our fellows at home, back home, even our parents, even our siblings, because they depend on us. But that should not surely distress us from carrying on with our studies. So I had to surely come up together with my team, and sat down. So we had to surely come up with a campus barbershop and saloon. We had to surely come up with a campus tech shop. And we are working on a project which we're calling it Earn as You Learn. So the barbershop and saloon, as well as the tech shop, we want to run it as SRC and even give the opportunity to some fellow students who are able to run businesses and instill in each other entrepreneurship skills. And in that process, then we'll surely be developing our country and our world enlarged little by little. So students would vie for, say, for example, a barber shop or saloon or a tuck shop, and therefore bid for that and carry on with the entrepreneurship skills. And as well as us as students who would go there being employed, and at the end of the day, getting something from there and helping us time to time, easy by easy. So that was the first project. And now we went to another further project, which we're calling it Earn as You Learn. So that as students, we should earn something as we learn, because we know finances is the very big challenge whenever you are at a university. And we usually, as I said, don't depend on only parents. Most of us depend on loan. And you say, for example, we would be employed by the very same university. Say, for example, would create some job opportunities somewhere else that even as students are learning, we can be able to get that job and learn and work in our free time while we earn something, so that should surely support us in our day-to-day life. So I had to, together with my team, work on that project, and we are still working on it. And just recently, as per se, we've started a fundraising campaign. That fundraiser, we're aiming at helping a first phase of 100 students from a 20 million kwacha we are yet to raise. So, charity begins at home, and we had to start it here at the university. We had to vow ourselves together with students and say, we should go mop the offices. And so if we mop the offices, the bearers of the offices should be able to give us something. So we raise many more funds and then move out of this campus to the township, to the cities, and we draw money from there. We should ask, begging as intellectuals would not give in a good sense, but we should work for something so we get it. We get it to our hands. So that's why we're working on a car wash fundraiser. The aim of the car wash fundraiser is to source funds, as I said, for 20 million kwacha for a first phase of 100 students, as well as as we go along, we aim at helping up to 300 students. And now that this year we have a problem and a hitch with first years, because as MAST, we have committed to 2 cohorts of first years. That is to say, we have a double intake of first years, which is not as normal as we run. So a good number of students, up to 600, are also having difficulties in their studies, carrying on with their day-to-day lives. So we want, through this project, to surely aim something. Say, for example, the very first 20 million kwacha, our aim is to get up to a 60 million kwacha, or approximately a 55 million kwacha, which, according to our statistics, would be very enough to help 300 students and sustain them till they finish. How? So we're working on a project that we'll surely discuss as we go along, which we are calling it, we want to surely introduce a farming, we want to surely have a mega farm, we would also want to surely introduce a restaurant right on campus, which would surely help students who are suffering in the day-to-day meals. So we're working on that together with the team, and we are also working together with clubs and societies that as the students we also established amongst ourselves, and we're calling out for help to the corporate world, whoever would assist us, so that we should surely be able to sustain ourselves on the going.
I think the audience would like to understand who is actually Mr. Alexander Cote, because before your university life, have you ever been involved into student politics in high school or in secondary school? Can you elaborate on that?
My brief background is interesting. In my first year of the whole entire student body, the student journey, from my standard 1, so to say, grade 1, kindergarten, I started school pretty early. I think with I was 3 years old. per se. I mean, it's a history that parents told me. It's not a well-to-do family, but at least they would sustain us with something. So we started to a private school. I just didn't go to kindergarten. I started in standard one, per se. We call it grade one, because I was literally following my sister, who was older than me. So I was surely beside her time everywhere she would go. So I'm the only boy at home. And as a middle child amongst two females, one older and one younger me, I just with between the two. So I had to surely be in passion and say, I can do this. So I was with my sister wherever she would go. So I started in my grade one when I was 3 and carried on until I reached standard 8. We called it grade 8. That's year's primary school. So by then, I was already elected sanitation prefect amongst the student body. So I would say it's student politics, which started all way back. And after that primary school, that's where I went to high school. We call it secondary school here. I was selected to Zomba Catholic Secondary School. In short, we call it Box 2. Per their motto, they call themselves BOCO. We then call ourselves BOCO, Boys of Courage and Cooperation. And when I was in my third year of study, that's in Form 3, as per call, I was selected as well as, I was elected as a house prefect. So I would look up to more than 150 to 200 students per my house. So more or less like I was the deputy prefect at our place at Zomba Catholic Secondary School. So right after there, I was given, I think that was academic-wise, I was given a science award to among us the whole Zomba, and it was a national science award in 2018. So I scored position number 3. That surely exposed me to even a lot of experience, because after that, in 2019, we were called for a research project, which I also had to expose myself to the community, the deep remote community. So we went to do a research under the International Organization for Migration, under the United Nations. So that even exposed me to much more of experience, leadership, as well as organization skills, because we would do focus group discussions, engage ourselves with people in the community, the basic remote community. So all the people, by then I didn't find a person like me. I mean, I wouldn't interact with a person younger than me. I was only 17, if not 18, 17 years old. That was around in 2019. So I was 17 years old and would surely interact with big people. And fortunately enough, I was the only young person, only young member in the team. It was a team of 5, if not 6, with our supervisor. And I was the only youngest amongst 20, 25, or even 30-something years old. I think our supervisor was somewhere around 40-something years old female. So that really exposed me to a lot, and I had to surely get in much more experience. So when I started the university in first year, you can see I really already started in a high profile, and I was really keeping to goal. I was selected a class representative in my class. That was in 2019, and I was given a role being a class representative. I had to run that until my third year of study, when I was then I vied for office of president of the Student Representative Council. And I see a lot to come still more, because I would yet also contest for all universities in Malawi as a student president, so to yet to come. And I'm sure I'm going to get that badge on my paper, and I'm going to get it back home. Yeah, that's a profile in brief.
That is really quite interesting background. It means that you've been grown into politics from young age all the way to this level. You've been involved into student politics. I would like to ask you another question, which has to do with the young people participation politically in Malawi. Uh, what do you think is the biggest challenge for young people to be able to participate politically, in terms of running for political offices, or in terms of running for student leadership within the various universities? What do you think are the challenges that young people experience every day?
The first challenge that I see as youth, which we experience time to time, whenever we would want to vie for bigger offices, is the first courage within ourselves, an intrinsic courage that we surely have to build upon. We don't have courage to surely stand out and say we would defend bigger officers in government. That's the very first thing. Well, apart from courage, fear, because we see however government positions move by whenever we are from far. We look at, officers of high officers of president, high officers of vice president, high officers of ministers, for which when you look at the officers right now, you would see people which I would call in Generation Y, we as youth, we're in Generation Z, but now old people who are, say, in Generation X and Y, people who are old enough, say, age above 40, who are then now participating in politics, making policies for youth who are yet to grow, and they are in their 20s, in their early 30s. Something I would say is sarcastic. There are older people making policies for younger people to come. And that doesn't change anything, because now looking at they wouldn't make better policies for the people to come, because they know they would be out of the system in the years to come, and they wouldn't care about who is coming next. So the fear that surely exists in us to participate in those kind of board meetings, in those kind of positions and offices, is again one of the things that derails us. The fear that maybe when we engage ourselves in politics, we're going to die so young is the biggest fear that we all have, because of how the topography of our politics worldwide is. You would go into politics as young. It's interesting to see Senegal president now being younger at the age of 30-something, which is quite interesting and quite fascinating, motivating to us, even myself. I look forward to him to say, okay, it's a very better age when we see. But look, say, for example, if you look at Uganda, apologies to say, but President Museveni, and now there is President Bobby Wine. He's young, courageous enough. But you would see very young people behind him who are fearing to worry with him, because they see maybe if we're going to engage ourselves in so much of this, we're going to be killed so soon. So most of the young men that we usually fear for dying young. And that is the only advice most of us get from our parents and our guardians and people surrounding us, to say, young man, if you would want to sort of progress, then don't buy into politics so early, which is a thing and a mindset that we have to change, because as young people, we are growing tentatively on a scale. Say the fact, we have a longer lifetime and a longer lifespan than a person who is 50 years old and above. And you wouldn't put a person, yes, they have experience, but wouldn't put a person who is 50 years old and above in a position that would surely guide all of us who are young. Yet we know best what we need in our youngest age. Generation is changing. Everything is changing little by little. We know our priorities now best than a person who is 70 years older would surely know my priorities. So, as a young person, I would prefer having a younger person in front of me to lead me, because I would know what is a priority for me right now, than a person who is old enough, who doesn't really know what kind of priority I would have now than prioritizing theirs. So it's a thing that's even being listed in the Sustainable Development Goals under the United Nations. The SDGs, 17 SDGs that are there enlisted to be accomplished by 2030. All the people that are there to drive those SDGs. In Malawi, there is Vision 2063. We talk of Vision 2063, but yet people who are driving the very Vision 2063 are very old, that we would assume by then they will not be available. It's life, and we are exposed to death so soon. People who are old enough will not be available by 2063, and we expect them to make better policies for us young who would be there available by 2063. It's something unpredictable, yes, but now it's something that's sarcastic, I would say, because we would be there making the policies ourselves, because we would know best what we would like by 2063. A 70-year-old person by now wouldn't make a policy better for 2063, but maybe a 30 years old would be better for making the policy. So another thing that even derails us is the age limit that politicians put along as the line. In Malawi, the viable age for you to compete for president is 36 years. So it means you have to wait until you get to 36 years old, and then you vie for office of president, which is quite difficult for a young member, a person who is active like me at 30 years old and would want to stand for president. It would be difficult for me to surely go for the same because I know I would have to wait till 20, that to I get to 36 so that I vie for president. But yet I'm active now and I know best how I would do my things right now. So I think maturity now should not be based on age. Maturity should be based on experience and what we are exposed to. So there are a couple of things that surely derails Malawians and youths in my country, worldwide, to participate in politics and some.
Sometimes people may argue that young people are not prepared. What can you say about that?
So it's a thing, like I said, that needs transformativeness. We need to surely reform our thinking. Reformation shouldn't just start on the ground, yet it hasn't been done in our heads and hearts. We should transform our thinking capability. We should move from that ordinary thinking of saying youths can make better decisions when they're in power. Yet that we rely on the very youths to surely carry on some better decisions. I mean, when somebody's president, they would give youths to surely write them a speech for them to present to the whole nation. What does that imply? They are there as a labor or they are there as a statue. We have to give those young people space. They can do it themselves. We just have to give them trust, to give in trust to them. Let's give them the trust they should deserve. Let's give them the hope everyone should deserve. I mean, youth can do better than what we all think about them. We have that belief that youth cannot do better. And that is one of the biggest factors that surely keeps us behind. If we would surely keep to think and give the youth chance, say, for example, like I give an example of a Senegal president, he's young, but surely doing better in politics. If we can give the very same chances to all around Africa, presidents who would surely do best and make decisions, we would see ourselves changing. And you know what? Unfortunately, people who are old have experienced a lot of corruption in their past years when they were young, and they would want to keep practicing that now. If we would surely keep in a clean mind in politics, a young mind who doesn't know about where to do corruption and how, and come up with better solutions of surely trying to stop all the corruptive procedures, all the corruptive orders. If we would give those people a chance, a fresh mind to carry on that, they would surely manage. What we only lack is a chance and a corrupted mindset. If we surely change our mindsets now and give a chance to the youths to surely guide us and rule us, we would see a better change. We shouldn't make conclusions in something we haven't yet experienced or done experiments for. We are growing and our mindsets are changing time to time, and our mindsets shouldn't be defined by our age. We can do better than that.
Let's go back to Malawi again. I'd like to understand, what do you think, or how do you think Malawi is, in terms of education, Malawi is contributing towards the field of engineering and science and technology? What are the biggest challenges that young people experience within the country?
So Malawi is a country rich in better minds and beautiful mindsets, brains and everything. But it is located under the least developing countries. When people say we are poor as Malawians, I say, well, on paper. But we have brains, we got wisdom, we can do it. What we only lack most times are the resources. If we check past time, when Malawi was just gaining its independence in 1964 rather. From 1964 to edges around 2000, Malawi was doing better in finances. Our dollar was head to head with that with the United States of America. But now we are thousands and thousands away from a US dollar. But what we lack is the industrialization in our country. We have many innovative ideas, many innovative youth coming up with beautiful innovations, but we don't have industries to capacitate them. We don't have the facility to capacitate them, to engulf all the engineering skills we get from our universities. I'm doing textile engineering. But I would say there is no reliable textile engineering company in Malawi. And if I would look up to getting a job from an engineering sector based on textiles, then I would be thinking two steps back. So I have to surely come up with a certain plan to surely sustain myself and come up with a business or come up with a facility. But what I like is finances. I mean, I would think of getting spinning equipments, facilities that would surely make this country develop. But I don't have that chance because I'm not coming from a well-to-do family. So what we lack is a chance. What we lack are the grants. If there would be well-wishers from the corporate world, if there would be people who would wish to surely develop this nation and get better, I would advise them, invest in the innovative ideas we have. If we would have a textile industry in Malawi, we would fast develop. I would give you an example for China. China has usually developed because of the textile industry. And textile industry contributes so much to the GDP as a country. You look at Zambia, you look at Tanzania, all those countries are doing better because they had to focus themselves in industrialization, specifically textiles. So they are doing better and better. You talk of Singapore, they didn't just develop because of on themselves, not only on agriculture, but also industrialization and mainly textiles. So if we would surely engage ourselves in many more of this industrialization so that we get to levels of Singapore, we get to levels of Zambia, levels of Tanzania, levels of China, we would fast develop. But that's one of the things that we lack of finance to surely engage ourselves and invest in industry. If we would do that, I think that would be the best formula. Because past time, like I said, from 2064 to 2000, we had many industries in Malawi, many textile industries, but now it's almost a zero industry. So if we truly focus ourselves on industrializations, I'm sure it would put us to different levels.
I want us to go back to the project you've been working on at the university. I'd like to understand, how do you think your current project at the university, since becoming the president of the student union, how do you think this project will be sustainable after your graduation, when you shall have left the student community?
A very nice question. I would borrow a word from our vice chancellor. She says always, when all is said and done, what shall you have contributed to the nation and to the people? When all of my office duties are done, what shall I leave behind me? I would want to put on legacy. That's the very thing and first thing I would want to put on. Sustainability of this legacy is a thing that would matter most after putting it on the ground. After this fundraiser, we would want to keep sustaining this money by doing a mega farm, by engaging ourselves in mega farms. One of the things that as youth we have to keep on transforming ourselves on is how we perceive chances to grow. We are the people facing the challenges, our academic challenges time to time. And we expect someone from outside to come in to solve our problems. It's impossible. We have to solve our problems ourselves. First of all, we have to show the courage and capacity to solve the problems. That is why we would want to surely engage in farming, a farm that would be managed by students, that students would be capable to go grow their sets, grow their plants, and wait for the harvesting period and get something. Through that farming, I'm sure we are going to keep to raise some money. Say, for example, we would surely plant some vegetables and do some vegetable farming. Those vegetables, we would want some of them to sell, but part of the vegetables, we would want them to be fed by ourselves. So we don't want to be a hand-to-mouth process. But now what we would want to do is, after we harvest the vegetables, we're kind of thinking of building a restaurant, which is, I'm sure the university would provide a place. So we'll build a restaurant that will be able to feed many students in line with the same project, many needy and deserving students. So students who are needy and deserving, if we would get the 20 million kwacha now and say we are going to get this 20 million kwacha and disperse it to various students, 10,000, 10,000, we will not be solving the problem. But if we keep something that will live forever, we'll keep something that will stay for ages, we will build a restaurant and employ some students, employ some community members who would help in carrying out the duties at the restaurant time to time. While we also engage ourselves in farming at one of the simple or mega farms, we would surely engage ourselves in. Then we would be putting ourselves in the implementation planning. We are calling it Malawi Implementation Plan, MIP, focusing on objective number 5, employment. So we would also create an employment structure for people around Malawi as we engage community members, as well as ourselves as students. By that, we will also develop leadership skills in ourselves, governance skills in ourselves, patriotism, and self-reliance. We would want to build that culture in everyone as a student. We shouldn't just come at a university and move out with a paper. We should come at a university, move out with paper, as well as entrepreneurship skills, as well as humanity. So we are doing this for Ubuntu, a thing, a strategy that is also being put under the cause and values for MAST Strategic 2030. It's called Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is humanity, integrity. We want to instill integrity in everybody. We want to instill admittance in everybody. Everyone should admit to their problems and work to surely improve them. So if we surely engage ourselves in farming, engage ourselves in different activities at the restaurant we are yet to build, that thing is going to sustain itself. Out of our calculations, if we would surely engage ourselves, engage the 55 million kwacha and disperse it for farming, disperse it for building our facility for a kitchen, come up with simple local meals that students would surely consume time to time. It would save their time for cooking and as well as keep on their studies. In the process, it would also instill solidarity in them. So it's a thing that will surely do it, and we are not hesitating. Our management is showing positive feedback on that one, and I'm sure the whole public shall show sympathy by contributing to the fundraiser.
Talking about the vision of what you're going to be leaving behind, it's almost like you are encouraging young people in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. So I'd like to ask you, what do you think or what mechanism can be put in place to encourage young Malawian to be able to go into the field of entrepreneurship, especially in some traditional sectors such as textile industry or areas that could create viable employment opportunity for young people?
A good question too. So, as students, myself and many others who are here at school only have a chance to attend the university. But it's not only us who have the chance to think wider above the edges. There are many other people in the village who just didn't have the chance to get to the step of the university level. But they have the expertise, they have the skills, they have the knowledge. We have to surely make that exposable and utilize it to our highest levels. I would surely encourage youth in our country to engage themselves in businesses. Them failing to come to university is of no cause. Everyone can do it better and better at their own level and stage. If each one of us would surely contribute to entrepreneurship and keep ourselves to grow, a country's growth does not only depend on governance, it doesn't only not depend on political movements, it depends on ourselves. We have to transform ourselves from where we are to somewhere else. In that way, we're going to develop not only ourselves, but the whole nation and entirely the world. If we would have solid minds that would only depend on developing after the political movement has done something, after an external force has forced us to do something better, then we wouldn't develop. It should be an intrinsic thing. That's where transformative mindsets should be based on. We should transform our mindsets. We can do better than we think. There are many webinars in Malawi that are sure running. There's one that interested me from Dr. Matthews Tumbuka, a Rise and Shine webinar, which talks. So Dr. Matthews Tumbuka is a council chairman for MAST, and he surely had to instill mindset in us and talk to us something about Rise and Shine. He had to put many concepts in it. He once called it 3D, which It's surely in the line of you making a decision, you being determined to what you want to do, and you have to make sure you do it. So in those kind of things, and in that line, if youth would surely focus on what do we want in the next steps, if we surely focus on, okay, where do I want myself to be in the next 2 to 3 years, and come up with many entrepreneurship ideas and focus to doing them, and make sure they come to reality, then we'll develop this country many more. Many people in the world, and as well as not only the world, but Malawi, usually focus on developing and making industries outside Malawi, a thing that I don't encourage. Even if you're outside Malawi, come and build those industries right in Malawi. Give these young people chances. Give them what we would say, okay, you grant them loans so that they would start something little. Life after university, we know is not even easy. We can do better than that. If we truly grant these people a chance by giving them a grant of money or something else so that they can truly do themselves businesses, it would surely be better for the country to develop. So we should start from our community remote areas, not only university students, but everyone wherever they at, whether at a master's level, whether they have only a primary school certificate or a high school certificate, they can be able to engage themselves in businesses. And once they develop, the nation has developed. So it should be a mindset that should be instilled in almost everybody in the nation. Almost each and every youth, they should engage themselves in the very little businesses and let them grow.
I think that's talking about community engagement. So, talking about community engagement, I'd like to link that to the projects you've undertaken at the university. Okay, so looking at the initiatives that you've undertaken at the university, such as the campus talk shop, the barber shop, the beauty salon, how do you think those projects have influenced the community and the student at the university? And what lesson other universities or other students union could learn from those projects that you've undertaken?
So I would first start with a car wash fundraiser that we are even further yet to engage ourselves in. We would want to go to banks who would submit to our proposals. And once we go to their banks and do the car wash, we not only want to stop on car washing, we want to further our practice. So just within the premises of the company, say bank or industry, we know that's a township, that's a city. We want to engage with a city. Say, for example, here it's Southern Africa, so we will surely go to Blantyre. So in the Southern Malawi, we would go to Blantyre City Council and beg for permission to surely just sweep within the roads and communities. I mean, the roads and the streets within the premises of the bank or the industry. Once we do that, we know we'll commit ourselves to the community, we'll commit ourselves to the engagement of the environment, make our city clean and better. But not only that, even further to that, here, after this whole fundraiser is done, after all is said and completed, as I said, we are going to give chances to the people surrounding our own campus, give them chances to surely engage themselves in the work. That's why we're calling it under Vision 2063 Malawi Implementation Plan. Number 5, employment, creation of employment structures. So we want to surely give these people around our campus a chance to surely commit ourselves to working in our campuses. Say by giving them a chance to work for us for cooking of the students who are needy and deserving. Not only that too, in the barbershop and saloon, we know as students we are committed to work, class work time to time. So there's a person who surely be a standby person who surely be there, working in the tuck shop, working in the saloon, working in the barbershop, even when we are absent. So those people, by doing that and employing them and giving them something, we are engaging the community in all of our projects. I should also just let this out to say, as a university, as students, we are also being engaged into another project, which is now called a Village Science Academy. So under the Village Science Academy is being under the Malawi Institute of Industrial Research. I'm sure this is also going to implement much more of the community engagement. We want to go in the communities, research their difficulties and the problems that they meet in the deepest villages, in the deepest remote areas. And when we come back to campus, we should surely make solutions and develop solutions for them, some of which will surely be implemented by ourselves. through the fundraising we are trying to do, through the barbershop and saloons, through the research labs that the university had to develop. So as students, while we work in this kind of businesses as well as in this kind of chances, we are going to develop further and further while we engage the community and village members.
The second part of my question was, what lessons can other student organizations be able to learn from what you've initiated? Maybe either in another university in Malawi
Yes.
or in other universities across Africa.
Beautiful. So, as Malawi University of Science and Technology, it's the first time, and the first time this is happening under Student Representative Council. We would want to surely take this as a champion program. Universities, students should learn from ourselves, should learn from mass students how we are yet to do this, and we are doing this. I would surely put in a word in Chichewa that says, I know you won't be able to get that, but it says, there's a saying that says, if you feel the pain, you should be able to lay it out. I mean, nobody has to speak for you. If you know you've been having the problem that would surely live for ages, nobody has to come and speak to you and say, man, you have this problem. You have to learn to speak out. You don't just speak out using words. You have to sometimes speak out with actions. We have a problem that we know there's a solution to it, and we have to work towards it. Intellectually, that's why we are sourcing, and we can't go in the streets and keep begging. That's why we are sourcing for the money through our work. So we want to go in the cities and go work. I think that students, youth, and everyone in this country should emulate. If we want to solve our problems, we should be the very first people to appear to solving that problem. Nobody from outside should be waited for to solve our problems. So university students should learn from there. They can also learn from us, come ask us questions. We would share the experience, or we would go champion the thing at their own universities too. But they have the capacity. I mean, they can do what we're doing. Nobody has limitations. So they should just emulate what we're doing and try it out. I'm sure it should work out for them. So like we're doing here, developing a restaurant, developing a farming, a maker farm, they can also do that. We have Bilongwe University of Science and Technology. They focus on agriculture too much. We are also learning from them many of these of the processes that we are going to do through the farming, which means they have the capacity to do that. They got the skills. They just need to focus and make sure they get the problem solved. So all over the world, youths in institutions, starting from the high schools, you talk of the university, tertiary level, they can not only engage themselves in farming, or engage themselves in building a restaurant. The university innovations that they have, as young people, we think too much. We know our problems. We know the problems that the world is facing, and we come up with many innovations. If they have those chances to come up with those innovations to their implementation stages, they should do that, and therefore employ younger people. In that doing, they will also help improving the welfare of the basic day-to-day life of the fellow students. So we should engage in different angles of this, and I'm sure it will work out after a good period of time.
That's about collaboration among young people. So I'd like to ask you another question when it comes to collaboration among young people. How do you think that youth leaders across Malawi and across Africa in different sectors can be able to influence or effect perfect economic development, or what may drive economic development in Africa?
So in English, there's a saying, where there is little, people scramble for it. If we create opportunities for ourselves, we're not going to put ourselves to the heart of trying to focus on somebody's. I mean, if you have your own business, nobody would force you to do what. You just have to conform to the policies, government policies, or work premise policies amongst the work environment you're in. If you get employed, it's an obvious thing. You have to restrict yourselves to the policies that the company sets. By that way, you as a person, as a youth, you're not completely developing and going further. Yes, that's true collaboration. But for implementation of a longer goal, that will not suit it. As youth, we know we don't have the full capacity on our own. But if we engage ourselves with different members of our communities, different members of our own liberty, we would go further. A further saying in English says, if you want to go far, then go yourself. I mean, if you want to go far, then go with a group. But if you want to go faster, then go yourself. So we don't aim at moving faster, yet there's no any achievement. But we should aim at going very, very far. How? We have to engage ourselves with our fellows. I would have a thinking of coming up with something else, but I don't have the financial capacity to do it. I have to find fellows who would help me. In that way, when we collaborate, we're going to reach the stages, higher stages, where nobody would imagine doing. So we should earn at that collaboration. In that doing, we wouldn't be here scrambling for very, very little things, which would also disturb our peace. Malawi is a warm heart of Africa. We call ourselves that. So if we truly want to keep on this peace going, we should have to develop our own strategies of coming up with financial stability, as well as youth, collaborating with each other so we grow as a nation at large. There is again another complete saying in English that surely goes like, wherever there is money, there is no peace. So we know money brings in many disturbances in people's mindsets. But if you eat your own money, you have no problem with nobody. So we should surely sustain and come up with the solutions like, what do I do for myself to get better? If we do that, then we will have no corrupt mindset, no anger issues with somebody. Nobody would come to me and say, you're eating my money. I mean, it's my own money. I'm doing it through my business. So we would have no ridges amongst ourselves. We wouldn't have those kind of anger issues amongst ourselves. We would keep to grow because we know we are doing it for our own benefit and for our team. And we wouldn't scramble for the less. We would surely put ourselves for the better issues and for the biggest. So we should surely develop many more of strategies to surely sustain ourselves financially, and that would also bring in so much peace, as well as engaging ourselves in too much collaboration amongst ourselves as youth.
The African Union has a plan, Vision 2063, and under Vision 2063, they have a youth policy, which they started to discuss issues with young people, and where you have the African Youth Charter, the African Youth Governance Architecture, and all of these issues are political. All of these aspects of AU are political wings of the AU in terms of putting youth agenda on the stage. And when we look at the statistics across Africa, it's about 43% of the African population are young people that are under the age between 15 to 25. So, and also looking at in the future, about 2030, about 60% of the African population is going to be young people, which will be between the age of 15 to 35. So looking at all of these things, how do you think young people role in Malawi can influence policy change in terms of election period or post-election or during the campaign period?
As Malawians and as youth, we have some laziness in doing much more research for our own benefit factors. This information that you say we have a 45% of young people who are within the age of 15 to 25 now, and we expect these percentages go up to 60% by 2030. There are statistics that most of youth do not know. And most of youth, therefore, keep themselves in the ages of we can't move if there's somebody older to lead us. So, as you say, we should really engage ourselves in these kind of agendas and do much more of research and come up with strategic ideas on how we can drive ourselves. The African Union, as you say, development of the 2063 agenda in Malawi, we are calling it Malawi Vision 2063. Youth development and youth transformativeness is very important and very empowering. Not forgetting females, because if you're talking of youth, we're not leaving women behind, yes. So if we truly engage ourselves in so much of idea generation, leadership roles, I'm sure by 2030, we should have a good number of percentage, say, for example, this 60% in governance. Because you would see by 2030, a half of almost the whole population of the world would be youth. And then we still expect for someone older than 25 or older than 36 to surely keep guiding us. It would be a difficult thing. We should take up roles as Generation Z in governance, in politics, and everywhere else, and transform this kind of policies, transform this kind of agendas that are being made now to something that would fit this generation. I usually say the only problem we have now is, as government, it does not fully engage enough youth who are adequate enough to surely activate the process and submit to the ideas that they have, submit to the ideas generation of the policies. Youth are not given that chance to surely make out their policies they have to deserve. At the end of the day, we are letting out people who are older enough and who would be out of the system as per se in 2030 to make our policies, which we know they won't fit our own being and our own doing. At the end of the day, we'll keep rolling on the same thing. I mean, not many youths have a better understanding of a vision 2030. Not many youths and not many older people also have a better understanding of the vision 2030. If we engage ourselves in the community engagement by doing the campaigns and tell them what they deserve, expose to the youth what they have to deserve, tell them their capacities, and transform their mindsets that they can do better. If we can do that and engage ourselves in the civic education to all the youths, I'm sure by 2030, youths shall have a biggest role in policy development, idea generation, and governance. And by then, we're going to develop even better. Because I'm sure as youth, we have many fresh ideas, many fresh the decisions that we're yet to make, but we fail to express them because we are not amongst the boards that sit to make the policies. We are not amongst the boards that sit to make the better ideas and decisions for this nation. If we would be having those kind of chances to be in those kind of policy making or idea generation or decision making boards, I'm sure this nation should develop faster than we think. Not even up to 2063. It can be even faster than that.
Thank you very much. I think we are coming to an end of our today's discussion, and I'm actually looking forward to having more discussions with you. But before we go, I'd like to ask you, are there something that you'd like for us to talk about that we didn't talk about during the show? And what will be your long-term vision for maybe in terms of being politically active or going to private sector, something like that?
So like I said, fear is one of the contributing factors. Unfortunately, I have little fear. So I would surely engage myself further. And I'm sure I have that engagement in politics. So to say, open wide and to the public. Further than that, one advice that I would surely give to many youth is we are keeping to grow. This age we're in, we're exposed to too many mistakes. From our ages of 20 to around 30-something or 30, we shouldn't fear to engage in many more of activities. We should give ourselves chances to practice many more. I mean, if we would make mistakes, we still have time, we would get back to the time and sure repair it. But sometimes we make mistakes that we all know will get us to somewhere bad. One of the things that surely derail youth is Kauchinyamata, I would say in Chichewa, that youthful stage of knowing I can do whatever I want. A thing that if you can surely check Instagram now, check Facebook now, we are morally at lower levels and at lower stages. We're not doing better in moral terms. Development and moral development has a role to play in the entire national development. We should engage ourselves in moral doing. We shouldn't put ourselves to edges that would surely get us to something that is immoral I mean, we are Generation Z. And with the way we're doing morally, it's a thing that we're not doing better on, a thing that I discourage time to time as youth. We should give the older people a heart and hope to aim in investing ourselves as youth. How? By also showing them a good morality. Maybe if we truly show that positive, these older people would then keep gaining trust on us. But otherwise, I think it's a thing that we surely have to take note of and keep advising ourselves. Let's not do many things that will surely hurt our lives and not go further. You talk of smoking. Anyway, maybe it's a thing that would surely some people would like, drug abuse, but it's not something we have to get used to. It's a thing that will surely destroy our lives and our mindsets and our future. So as youth, we should be morally better and morally active. We shouldn't derail our culture and keep our culture going. I think that's a thing that we should have to maintain so that we can keep going better and better. But otherwise, I should really thank you for hosting me here. And it's been a pleasure. And looking forward to also having many more interviews and podcasts with you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. And I'm looking forward to having more discussion with you. And you do have a wonderful, wonderful day.